Talking about nurses like sets my soul on fire. Like I get so excited talking about the nurses because really post-COVID, those nurses were burned out. They were worked to death. One of my favorite things to do is to scoop up those burnt out nurses and reignite that passion.
Welcome to the In the Arena podcast. My name is Jared Miguez, a co-host on this podcast that brings you the inspiring stories of our clients who are leaders and innovators across different industries in Southeast Louisiana. They are visionary entrepreneurs, savvy real estate professionals, media creators, military business owners, and community champions. And we are going to showcase the remarkable achievements and share their personal stories. Tune in for insightful conversations, valuable lessons, and motivational stories that are going to reveal their secrets to success and offer you insights to help you on your own path. Welcome to In the Arena podcast. All right, well, welcome to the In the Arena podcast.
Well, thank you, Jared. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Today we have Blasia Rivet. So tell me about, we talked a little bit about it, but tell me about your business and what you're doing just briefly so we get started.
Yeah, so I'm the founder and CEO of Decision Critical. We're a concierge nursing agency, so we provide high-level in-home nursing care. We try to blend the art of hospitality with clinical excellence. We bring really high-level nurses, registered nurses in to provide in-home nursing care. Yeah,
that's very cool. I was looking on the website today. So is it only for people that have had like a critical injury or surgery or something like that? Or can be more general service for somebody who needs nursing?
Great question. So we really do everything. From a nursing perspective, from birth to end of life, everything in between. So we offer services for newborns transitioning out of the hospital from the NICU, postpartum moms, post-surgery, whether it be like a heart surgery. We offer acute care services for illnesses and injuries, chronic care if you're diagnosed with cancer, heart disease, diabetes, liver disease, you name it.
Wow.
End of life care. Yeah. I mean, you name it. We work alongside home health and hospice.
So we actually had one of our employees or one of our business owners' wives who had a baby, and we did the birthing video and everything like that, which was really cool. So it kind of, I don't know, just reminded me of that, it's fun and exciting, which is a part of my phase of life. And we have a 3, 5, and 7-year-old.
So fun.
We had a different experience. We had to have, my wife had to have 3 C-sections. So that was not something that we expected.
Exactly.
And I would have imagined that, knowing that this was a thing, we probably could have used some of the services for that period of life, because I'm working.
Absolutely.
And she's trying to figure out how to get around with this surgery that she had, but also take care of a kid at the same time. I didn't even know that was a thing. Was this a problem that you foresaw, that you're creating a new idea, or is this something that's being done across the country?
Well, so I opened in 2014. So we're 11 years in.
Wow, okay.
And, the brand awareness is slowly creeping through. I've been very strategic in how I grew, because I wanted to make sure that we were able to uphold a certain level of service.
Yeah.
And so, the brand awareness just slowly leaking outside of Baton Rouge and being able to offer these services throughout Louisiana. Like I mentioned earlier, we've grown into Texas within the last week. And so we're super excited about going national. Recent.
That's cool.
Like 2 weeks ago.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm excited. So that has been a problem. Just people getting to know about us. Concierge nursing has been around forever. Our other goal is just really to be the advocate for the client, put them back in the driver's seat, and then be that bridge for the physicians from their hospital efforts, the physician office, and then the in-home efforts. Like, let us be that person. Do
you solve a problem for the hospital? I mean, people lingering in the hospital that are there longer than they maybe really need to because they are nervous to go home. I'm sure you, especially in a post-COVID situation where everybody was, the hospitals were so packed you couldn't get a bed in the hospital if you needed one in some instances. I'm sure that you having this service allows doctors to say, look, we have something that can bridge the gap between you being here and getting comfortable in your new experience of what you have to go through the recovery, or maybe indefinitely if that's something that's permanent.
Yeah, I have so many things that I want to say on this. You just unpack so much. But that's one of our favorite things to do. Cool. There's some jaw surgeons in town who do these high level, like double, triple jaw surgeries mainly on teenagers. They used to admit their patients to the hospital, to the ICU for 24 hours. Well, now they send them home with one of our nurses. Cool. So they demand that one of our nurses are there with the patient, so we can do everything in the home so they can rest and recover better. Yeah. And then you touched on COVID. So we do like to help with hospital readmission rates, send one of our nurses out after a patient gets discharged. Let us be that resource. Let us be that the eyes and the ears for not only the physician, but also the client and the patient.
For sure.
So that we can make sure they're getting all the care they need so they can recover. But COVID, that's a whole story. So I really didn't do much from 2014 to about 2020. I was just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. You know, I really opened to do nurse consulting, whatever that meant. I was going to figure it out because I knew I wanted to own my business. My parents are serial entrepreneurs, and we can kind of get into the family and personal life in a bit. But COVID. So partnered with the lab. I had a good friend that was working for a lab. I partnered with the lab, and we did concierge COVID testing.
Nice.
And people laughed at me. They were like, "You're not going to do concierge." Well, every time I'd go to one of these high-end clients, they'd be like, "Hey, what other nursing services can you deliver?" So I'm like, well, I have this business. I'm offering nurse consulting. Literally, I put it out there on Facebook, and I was like, now offering, concierge nursing services. And then one client hired me. She lived in an assisted living facility, and she needed her labs drawn every Monday. And she was scared to go into the lab or the hospital because of COVID. She wasn't crazy about any of the nurses that were working at her facility, so she hired me as her private nurse. And I'd go in to see her every Monday, and she'd had a blood transfusion every Thursday. And from there, the rest is history.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
COVID success story, I'd say.
And look, it's funny how people perceive COVID as such a negative thing, but really, there are some great opportunities and things that came out of that whole process. I mean, as a blessing and a curse in a certain way, but my dad's a physician, he's a pathologist, and their business benefited in a way from COVID because they had to do a lot of COVID testing.
Absolutely.
And so, that whole experience, I think, with real estate business is what we're in, the nursing world, the medical world in general, there's so much that came out of that allowed us to, or forced us to figure out solutions to these problems that were super interesting. So you mentioned 3 different people, right? You mentioned the actual patients, which you're calling clients. Mm-hmm. You mentioned the physicians that you can solve problems for, but also these nurses that I'm sure like the creativity of what you're doing because they probably have a little bit different perspective on their career, being able to offer these services. So who's your ideal client if you were going to say between the actual patients you're seeing, the doctors that you're visiting with, and the nurses that are part of your system?
All 3 of those.
Yeah.
So talking about nurses sets my soul on fire. I get so excited talking about the nurses because really post-COVID, those nurses were burned out. They were worked to death in the hospitals, just doing everything and anything they could to keep up. Mm-hmm. And so one of my favorite things to do is to scoop up those burnt out nurses and reignite that passion. That's awesome. Because we chose this career. I'm a registered nurse. We chose this career because we love to care for people. We're nurturing at heart. But it's we go through the hard. We go through, we're at the people's most vulnerable times, most vulnerable healthcare moments. And so it's hard. It's taxing on your life. It's a highly emotional job. And so I love scooping up those burnt out nurses and just seeing them come back to life.
So my mom was a registered nurse and my dad's a physician. So for the first 6 years of my parents' marriage, my dad wasn't making any money as a resident. Mom was making enough money to pay for 3 boys at the time and then had a 4th. And it's the way that she was able to take care of us as a kid and the perspective, right? You even splitting your knee open, it just didn't faze my mom.
Right.
And none of us got super anxious about getting hurt when we were growing up because my mom would just fix it. And she was always tough about that kind of stuff. I love the fact that mom was a nurse. So when you're looking for a nurse, what skills are you looking for and what values are you looking for in a nurse that's going to be a part of your system?
So culture is everything to me. And so I'm really looking for who you are as a person rather than what skills you have. Because if you're a nurse and you pass nursing school and you have 2 years of experience, we really want 2 years of experience because I'm sending you into a client's home. And so I want to know if all hell breaks loose that you can handle it because you're by yourself,
nobody's looking over your shoulder to make sure you're doing the right thing.
Exactly. So I love somebody with ICU experience. I love an emergency room nurse. I love med surge because you've seen and done it all. But I'm looking for culture. So I have two people that really interview for me. My chief nursing officer, she really interviews for skill. And then I have Olivia, who's my director of client relations. She really interviews for culture. Nice. And so just until recently, probably within the last year, I kind of turned over the baton for hiring.
Good for you.
But I handpicked every single nurse up until a year ago. Wow. And Shelly and Olivia have done such a great job carrying that on. And I'm just so proud to say, like, my nurses are the best of the best.
That's awesome. The one thing that we talk about is that your hiring process should be a process. It shouldn't just be, you have a good feeling about somebody in a meeting. You have to have several different people touching each one of the people you're hiring, and you got to filter them through some sort of a system. And if you don't, you're going to have a lot more turnover. And
exactly.
And the culture, as you grow, is going to become harder and harder to maintain.
Exactly.
But the hiring process is fun whenever you have the right system in place and you find the right people. And so one of the things that you mentioned, which I think is similar to the way we think about it, once you graduate from law school, mm-hmm. you have the perspective of how to think like a lawyer already.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't take people's grades in school as their ability to be successful as a lawyer.
Completely
It's
agree.
really your value system that you operate within, which it seems like part of your mm-hmm. process. And then, the ability to solve problems, in my opinion, more than, and the confidence, right?
Yeah.
If you graduated from law school or graduated from nursing school, you have the baseline knowledge to pass the test.
Right.
But it's the way that you are able to pivot and solve problems and the confidence that you have. You being in a situation that's difficult, being able to walk out, know where to find the answers, or feel confident enough to tell somebody you don't know the answer yet, I'm going to go find it and come back in and give them the right answer, as opposed to trying to figure it out without, having any type of filter to make sure you make the right decision is important.
Exactly.
So the value system that you operate within, have you identified what those values are for your organization? And I'm not going to put you on the spot.
We have, and I have a long list. It's hard for me to throw those out there. But, I love just being a servant leader. Mm-hmm. And I know that's kind of flipping the script on what you're asking me, but we lead with heart and we care for these clients just like they're our family. And so our values really just are all based around serving others.
That's great. And we have, if you ask me about the 5 values we have, I maybe going to run them. I can even try.
Right.
But, one of the things that we do whenever we're hiring somebody is we have the exercise of, after you sit down with their first interview, we make you go to our website mm-hmm. and review the values that we have on our website and see how we define those specifically. Because you might see leadership and integrity as a different, you might define it differently than I do. And we want to make sure that you think and feel the same way about those words or as those values as we do. And if there's an alignment there, then we take the next step in our interview process.
Exactly.
And so you mentioned leadership earlier today. So I'm mm-hmm. sure that's a part of one of your values. Mm-hmm. How do you instill leadership within those ladies that you were talking about, right? You specific 2 leaders right off the bat, right?
Yeah.
To help you with your interview process. But how do you instill that value in those 2 people specifically?
So I try to show up like I want my team to show up.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. And I think, you somewhat become a leader the day you decide you're going to pour into people and grow people. Mm-hmm. And I know everybody's probably heard the podcast, read the book about leadership is influence. And so I think just kind of not just talking the talk, but walking the walk. And so I try to show up every day as if I want my team to show in the way that I want my team to show up. And then also finding out what they want. Last week I got all excited. I was promoting one of my administrators and somebody told me, he said, have you sat down and talked to her about what she wants? Because I get so excited and I love pouring into my people. But it's like, sometimes you got to take a step back and say, like, hey, what do you want? Yeah. Do you want this promotion? Are you ready to do this? So
it's such a hard thing to do. And I literally had the same conversation yesterday as well. And, I think that a lot of people, and I think this transition happened maybe after COVID, but people were, leaders were feeling like they had to give somebody a goal and have them and hold them accountable to hitting that goal.
Exactly.
And instead of asking the employee or the coworker, like, what is
mm-hmm.
your goal? Mm-hmm. Does that fit into the world that we're trying to create here in this organization? And if it does, great, you're in the right spot. But how do I help you accomplish your goal that's going to help me accomplish my goal?
Exactly.
And that mindset shift even still is hard for you to do, especially as a business owner when you're looking, you have a very specific and you're passionate about where you want to go.
Right.
Because I find myself doing that. It's like I will run through every single wall to get where I'm going to go.
Yes.
But if you don't know that the people that are on your team are also trying to go in that same direction. You're going to be the only one knocking down the wall instead of them trying to knock down the same wall because that's where they're trying to go.
Yeah,
you got to ask
they have to be bought in.
Yeah, and you have to ask the questions.
Yeah,
but the hard part is sometimes asking the question to somebody who has never thought about what they want to do. Like they come to work every day and they're doing their job and that's what they're happy with, and their goals are related to maybe something they're doing at home and not at work. Exactly. And that whole dynamic is something I'm still working through as a leader too.
Right.
And it's hard as a business owner, but it's also fun as you start figuring those things out. And I find myself wanting to sprint to the finish line, even though the reality is it's not a sprint. It's going to take 10 times longer.
Rome wasn't built in a day, right?
Yes.
I know. But same, I'm this visionary. So it's like, where are my people that are going to keep my feet on the ground? Where are the people that are in the middle? If I'm over here being the visionary, where are the people that are in the middle that are going to, because I'm a build the plane as you fly it kind of girl. I created something that people told me I couldn't
fire,
do.
Aim is the way I like
exactly.
To say it.
Like I need the executors, the integrators, all of those people. So where are the people that are going to keep your feet on the ground and help you carry out this mission? And you have to have buy-in. Your people have to all be on the same page. And we tell everybody that we hire, like, if you're here for a job, we're not your people.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the next corporate hospital or the next corporate employer. That's not who I want to be. Yeah. This is work of the heart.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about.
And I sometimes I check myself to think that, that sometimes being on the A team is what people want to be, right? It's not all about necessarily how much money they're making or their status. They want to be a part of a team that's doing well. And if you create a culture like that, you're going to attract type people who just want to be on a winning team.
Exactly.
And it's exciting whenever you get those right people all working to a common goal, because there's all the other things that you have to worry about generally are out of the way. It's just focusing on what we're trying to accomplish.
Exactly. And that kind of just happens organically, or what I've found. And so we've somewhat created like this exclusive club for our nurses. And so our nurse registry, we have a wait list of like 25 people to get on our registry. And I feel like from what we've put out into the world, the service that we provide, we're attracting the right people. Very rarely do we have to turn someone down.
Yeah.
And our nurses somewhat speak to that and recruit for us.
That's awesome.
They're like, hey, I found this place who's flipping the script on what nursing can look like.
Yeah.
All of our nurses make their own schedule. We function somewhat like the waiter or the shipped type model. And so anytime we have a new client come in, we send it out to our team of nurses. And if it works for their schedule, it's in their area of expertise, they pick it up.
Yeah.
And so everybody's working within their space of what they love and what they're passionate about. And when people are doing what they love, it's not a job.
Yeah, 100%. Are those nurses generating business and leads for you?
They are.
That's awesome.
They are.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, that shows that they actually enjoy where they're at. They believe in what they're doing, and they want to see it grow too, which is great.
Yeah.
So let's shift to the second person we talked about. Right? We talked about the nurses. What about the actual client, the person that you're actually adding the value to in the services for? How are you attracting that person to you, and who is your ideal target in that sense?
Absolutely. So it's someone who wants an extra set of eyes and ears for them. It's someone who needs that high level, enjoys that white glove, high touch level service. Someone who needs an extra set of hands. Someone in our age, I know you're probably a good bit younger than me, but someone in our age category who we're raising kids, we're working all day, and we have aging parents.
Yeah.
My mom had a major back surgery 2 years ago now, and I ended up having to send one of my nurses over there because I'm like, Mom, I've got to go do this meeting, but I didn't want to take my eyes off of her. So I think my main ideal client would be someone in our age group.
Yeah.
We have newborns. We are getting into that age where it's like, okay, we got to start doing some of our preventative care. We got to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of everybody else.
Yeah.
We're executives in our business. And then we have aging parents. So I had a situation this past weekend, first big LSU game, family, husband and wife, they wanted to go celebrate at a friend's house. Well, Dad can't be left alone, and he's the caretaker for Mom. Well, they've got Alzheimer's. So that's kind of where we want to fill in those gaps. Like, hey, let us send a registered nurse to go sit with Mom and Dad for 2 hours so you can go and celebrate, and you don't have to worry. Like, we're the expert in this field. So that's the problem that we want to solve. I want to just bring peace and comfort to these people to know that they're in good hands.
So how do they get in touch with you? Like if you're somebody who wants this service, can I just book it online for an hour or two?
You can. So you can book online. I love for people to call their office. I'm somewhat old school in that sense, because from the second you call our office, and you most likely will speak with Olivia or Adele or me or Shelly, but you can hear in our voices how much we care. And I think that's what it's about. It's just that comfort. People call us in a crisis all the time. People don't usually call because they're booking out 3 months, unless it's like an elective plastic surgery type thing. But most often, dad or mom's getting discharged from the hospital. They're sending us home. We've got this pump. Like how do we give these medicines? What do we do? Yeah. And we want to save the day. Cool. And so that's what we love. We love people to call, because just to bring that comfort.
But if let's just say that somebody needed to go out of town for a long weekend and go on a vacation, and they have a family member that's at the house that they're taking care of, like they can just reach out and call you guys. What does the intake process look like? I mean, if you're a nurse, I'm sure that you can't just like book a babysitter to come show up. Like you have to actually plan and have a conversation before you agree to doing that, right?
Yeah, for the most part. We like to get a full medical history. Obviously, if we need any physician's orders, we need to work on that. But we do have, we have a team of like 65, 70 nurses. Wow. And they're all registered nurses. And so we're pretty available. We do book out at times. And we do anything from 2 hours of care. So say you need me to come sit with mom or dad, or, your child who has a seizure disorder or whatever. For 2 hours, we can do that. Or we provide 24/7 care as well. So we have nurses that work the day shift and the night shift for some of those who are maybe end of life, and they have a hospice company that's coming in every few hours, but we can't really take our eyes off of mom. We want to make sure everything's given. So we can provide 24/7 care as well. So intake process, that looks like you call our office, you buy a package online. We also have some memberships to where we can go in, like an elderly care package where we go in and check on mom and dad twice a week for 2 hours at a time. We can make sure their medicines are all in the right container. We can bring them to and from physician appointments to help while you're at work. But intake is fairly quick. I have a nurse on call, so anytime that one of our regular scheduled nurses couldn't make it, we have a backup system in place. So if you need somebody for tonight, we can most likely get you somebody for tonight.
That fast, okay.
So yeah, we've come a long way. I'd say the first 5 years we're just figuring it out, and these last 5 have just been incredible. Just putting the systems in place to where we can provide the service that's needed. And then my nurses travel. So we have an infusion service that we provide.
So that was one of the questions I was going to ask. Like, are y'all doing any like IV therapy type stuff?
We do. We do IV hydration for the wellness side. Yeah. But mainly our main goal is to keep dad out of the ER. We don't want him to have to go into the emergency room, possibly, contract some other virus that we don't need to have. So we can just go into the house, keep him home, provide IV hydration. Or we also do medication infusions. So we're partnered with an infusion pharmacy, and we travel all over Louisiana. So I think we were in Dry Prong, Louisiana last week. Have you ever heard of that?
I'm from Alexandria. I know exactly what a dry prong is, but I might be the only person who listens to this episode who knows where dry prong is.
Alexandria, so
there you go.
Yeah, so we're kind of making our footprint throughout Louisiana, and wherever there's a need, we're just trying to fill the need.
Well, I can imagine. I mean, and I'm 36, so I'm like at probably the phase of my life where I'm my parents are in their like early 60s, so I'm not at that point where they're having those types of things that they need now, but my grandparents are.
Exactly.
Right? And so I'm sure that my dad and my grandparents are thinking about that kind of stuff. And honestly, we had somebody pass away in our family a year and a half ago, and it was really the first person that we've lost, and he was 85 years old. Wow. And so at the end of his life, we had to, like, everybody was there taking care of him, and people were working, and we all really close family, so like we were able to take shifts. But I can imagine that this service would have been very helpful for that time period, and the value on both ends of the life spectrum, right? For a wife or a mother who just had a baby, who again had an unexpected C-section. I mean, like,
the wound care that's involved.
It's I didn't know, and she asking me questions, and I'm like, dude, your dad is a physician and my dad's a physician, and they're both out there. Like, the boundaries are all off. They're going to come up,
right?
This is not my gift. I would have gone to medical school if I was. So like that experience, but plus, knowing what happens whenever people are getting into their life is probably a big deal.
It is.
Let's go to the last area of the 3 that we were talking about, right? Because when you spoke at the beginning, you said nurses, you said clients, and you said physicians.
Yes.
So when you're meeting with physicians and telling about this process, like, are they part of that brand awareness, and are they referring you business just like the nurses and the clients are coming to you?
Another one of our favorite things, the physicians are picking our ideal client for us.
For sure.
Within the last 2 years, we've seen, the first few years, it was more like word of mouth, clients telling friends like, hey, I had this service come out and take care of me. They were really great. You should call them. Now we're getting direct physician referrals. And that's what I love. Because then we have that good open communication. I know exactly the aftercare that physician wants, what he wants done, what he's looking for. Like, let us be your eyes and ears in the home. That's who I want to be. That's who we want to be.
For sure.
And so we have some of the surgeons that train our nurses specifically, like, hey, on this type procedure, this isn't what you'd normally look for, but this is what I want you to look for at 24 hours post-operative, or, specifics for after a C-section, like your wife, like she probably doesn't know what to look for, but let us be those eyes and ears. And we've been specifically trained by her physician, those physicians.
The third time she was a pro.
Absolutely.
The third time she was a pro.
She's teaching others by
For
now,
sure.
right?
Well, honestly, she does. Because,
Yes.
again, the fact that she wasn't expecting it, and she's very much a reader, WebMD type. So she's goes down the rabbit hole and knows all the worst case scenarios and how to avoid them. So she does a pretty good job with it. But the first time would have been very helpful to have somebody.
Absolutely.
And again, I go back to COVID, and I know that whole experience of people being in the hospital, and like when I was growing up, or whenever I was still at some extent, like you feel like the hospital is a safe place, but really it's not. You go there to get your care and what you need, and then it's good to get to your house, in my opinion, as quickly as possible, because it's a controlled environment. You can relax and recover better there than you do in the hospital.
Absolutely.
And so I can imagine that, again, I think y'all are going to continue to grow, especially in this area, because people here, it's important that they are safe. They're very aware of these things. And there's a lot of little services that are popping up that are similar and to yours, that are not offering the same exact thing, but the in-home IV infusions and stuff like that, even after you have a long night out, it's helpful. And then the at-home delivery for babies, I know a lot of people around here are doing that too.
Yeah.
And so that's just being more and more prevalent, and having somebody like you to be able to come in and help after all those things are done is important. So it's cool. Is there anything else you want to add about your business coming up? You're looking to grow. I know you're going to be in Texas, so you're looking for nurses there. You're looking for clients there.
Always recruiting exceptional nurses. So we only want the best of the best. If you're lazy, you don't have a good heart, you need not apply. But look, nurses throughout Louisiana, every city, every parish. Texas, we're in the Plano, Frisco, Dallas area. So feel free to reach out. Would love to have an interview.
Very cool.
So.
Well, this was a great conversation. I really enjoyed you coming on today, talking to me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.